I didn't play perfectly, far from, but I was there when I needed to be. But I never got a chance from a big org.
Yeah.
And now that I did, and I got to prove it, and I get some, respect points with some very influential people, it pretty much secures my future.
All right. Hey everyone, this is Darius from Shotcaller. I'm sitting here with Bwipo.
Hey.
Bwipo, is that how you?
Bwipo
is
everything
good.
works.
Congrats on your very first game for Fnatic of all teams.
Yeah, it's really nice. I've been with Fnatic for 2 months now. I've been substitute, living with them for the entire time. I've been playing some practice matches here and there. Usually the rule is 1 game a day. So then Paul takes a break, sOAZ, and either watches our game, usually, and then so he can get more perspective on what's going wrong with the team or whatever. So that's how that came to be. Now 2 months further, I racked up a couple of games, scrims, played against LCS teams, and my performance was relatively good. And Youngbuck decided to give me the game.
Oh, that must feel very nice about that. And you did grab the MVP with 77% of the votes, which I think was a new record for MVP voting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. I think in this game specifically, I got set up really well. I think the strategy that we were running entire last week was pretty much what we just displayed on stage. It was me picking like a high priority top laner, which is Sion in the current meta on 8.4. Taking the Talia and an aggressive jungler. But the jungle matchup, not so important. We could have been Sejuani here or whatever. We were really flexible there. But it was important that we had the priority mid and priority top. And then we just play for me or play through me. Okay. So in this game, we displayed that through tower diving. But that wasn't necessarily the main plan.
Okay.
If we could play for the camps, we were happy. Maybe I'm saying too much.
It's all good, it's all good.
But that's what I kind of brought to the team in a presentation I did 2 weeks ago.
Interesting.
This was what I wanted to do.
Did a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, we actually have a presentation every day.
Oh, okay.
The coaches usually do it, but we have a system where the player does it every week. So one player every Wednesday shows up and he's like, this is a point I want to introduce to the team.
Interesting.
And one of the points I wanted to introduce is because I came into the team as the Jace player, the Singe player, the guy that has a lot of pressure always, and I didn't feel that when we had top pressure watching them play through these months, that we were capitalizing on camps. We were always looking to dive and, dive level 3, dive level 4. You don't have to. You can play the game a little slower, play for the Raptor camps, play a little smarter.
Okay, interesting. Now, as you mentioned, you did get set up really nicely, which sOAZ is probably a bit jealous of, maybe even because he always has to play Dog Champions and then gets camped that kind of stuff.
Too.
You played it as well, but you also got set up really nicely twice in a row. So.
Yes, that's, like I said, as part of the plan of communication this time around was that there was a dive opportunity. So we were just looking to set him up for the dive because Caps could roam fully against the Kassadin. Okay. So sometimes, there's different mid-pick into the Talia that's a bit more neutral, so there's a Cassiopeia or something that tries to pressure the Talia more and has way more wave control. But the Kassadin really can't stop the Talia from just pushing all the way and then moving. So in this case, the Talia can commit to the dive, move all the way, and that's why we went for this type of approach and just play for top tier 1 because of the amount of damage we got after that second dive. Yeah. The tower was about half health. And then, the third play is just we're going to take the tower, and if they want to contest it, we'll dive them or kill them under it.
That's exactly what you did. And
exactly.
Killed White Knight twice. Very nice.
Yes.
Now, let's talk a bit about yourself. What did you do before eventually joining Fnatic, and how did joining Fnatic come to be?
All right, so the most important thing that I did was grinding solo queue ladder. Okay. I made sure that since 2 years ago now, 1 or 2 years ago, I was really high on the ladder. I made sure I stayed top 25. That was my goal. It ended up being more top 15, top 10, but top 25 was the goal. I wanted to be recognized by a lot of solo queue players. If you play against a player and he sees that you're good consistently, you will get recognition, and that's what's important. So instead of aiming for teams, which I did initially in the first 2 years, I was trying to join a team and try and get some recognition through that, but it didn't really work out. So I committed to the solo queue aspect to make sure that I'm top 10, top 25, and people recognize my solo queue stats and see this guy's consistently for over a year, top 10 challenger, he must be doing something right. I played for Dark Passage in January last year. Didn't go too well. It was a 1 month thing. Then I got benched. It wasn't the best. Maybe it was because of my play. Partially, naturally, if I'm playing really well, you don't get benched. But I think there were more issues than that to the team. Then back to solo queue. constantly staying top 10 throughout that period. And then for the summer split, I joined a Russian LCL team.
Okay, interesting.
Team Rocks. I played there. I gathered some experience on stage. I think it was very valuable. Met some people, and eventually, by then already, Fnatic was in contact with me, but they didn't have room to bring me into the gaming house.
Okay.
So for that split, I decided to go with a different team, gather some more experience. And throughout this period in Russia, I hit rank 1 on the EU server, which is what gave me an extra bit of mileage coming into the off season.
For sure.
And I got a decent spotlight there. And then I ended up just signing with Fnatic. It happened quite fast. I wasn't sure at first, but then it was just like, you know what? We're taking him, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, hell yeah. You know, I want to play for Fnatic. I want to play with, I want to learn from Paul, because that's sOAZ, obviously the most well-known Western Toplaner. And he's probably the best one. In my eyes, he's the best one.
Very reasonable.
He's very consistent. He knows what he's talking about. He's really smart.
And
I've
has
learned a
achieved
lot.
so many amazing things. So.
Exactly. And I think what's really important as a substitute is that you respect that, right? The player you're playing under is better than you.
Okay.
Right. Even if I'm better at certain things than he is, I still recognize that he's a better player than me overall, and I respect the coach's decision to put him in instead of me. I had a really good performance. We showed something completely different than we usually see from Fnatic, but he is still capable of doing this. It's not like I did anything that Paul can't do.
Okay.
And understanding that is really important so that I can still learn from him. But once I put the mental block in that I'm better than him at the game, I think I'll just... I'm looking for the word, like, impede myself and something like this.
So you get like frustrated because you overvalue.
Well, no, not frustrated. It's just I stunt my own growth.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense.
Because like he's really smart. He's really good at the game. You can see like he's been grinding solo queue, which is normally something that we don't see from him, from what I've been told. Dylan says this is the first season everybody's grinding as much, and the entire Fnatic roster is playing so much solo queue. If you look at the ladder, you'll notice top 30, there's 5 Fnatic players.
Yeah.
And
I think even in top 10, I think Reckless is in there.
He's no longer. He's like top 15, top 20.
Okay.
But he was for almost the entire season. There's been me, Caps, Hilly, Broxa, and Reckless.
Yeah.
And then Paul is really close. He's like top 50 as well. So like the entire Fnatic roster is grinding out the ladder. It gives a super good vibe about solo queue. Everybody's tryharding. Everyone's really high LP. Scrims, going into scrims gives you a good feeling. You know, if you know that everybody on your team is grinding the ladder and they're really high. Especially as me, because coming into this game today, you know, at the end of the day, I have, you know, I hit tab, I see Broxa, I see Caps, I see Reckless, and I see Hylissang on my side of the scoreboard.
That must feel good.
Yes, it does. You know, like I know that if I mess up, I'll be okay if I just listen to my team. This game, however, I got a little bit more mileage. The attention came to me, and I could set up the plans myself. Now, during the game, there was a bit of conflicting calls. The bot lane was like, we're John Trist, we can just take it slow, you know, we don't have to force anything, whereas I was wanting to, you know, put it on, you know, I did want to go a bit faster in the game because I was scared of the Kassadin.
Yeah, makes sense.
Especially in Natalia. It's Kassadin, Caitlyn, and then you have the Tom Ken Shen. Yeah. So it's like, there can be a 4-man party on any side lane instantly. Yeah. So I was kind of scared that, you know, the Thalia is very vulnerable to this type of stuff. So I was kind of scared that was going to happen, but the communication was amazing. From our 4-man, they made 100% sure that we were waterproof defending ourselves. And it was just a really clean game from there. I think Cap said once.
Pretty sure, yeah.
We gave up the objective we needed to. We dropped bot tower because we respected the fact that, okay, we can just play it slow. We traded for top, it's okay. And from there on, we got every objective for pretty much nil.
3 Earthstrakes as well.
Yeah, that just made the
Barons. Yeah.
Exactly. After we got the 3, the second Drake, we were like, okay, if they ever make a mistake, we're going to get Baron for free almost. We got the 3rd one secured, and we were like, all right, this is GG. Like, Sejuani was low, we hit tab, no Warmogs, we just instantly call Baron, and we know that they can't contest it.
Yeah, pretty much. And that was, the game. I mean, even though Unicorns tried to go for that late game comp, at the end of the day, you just stomped them early enough to don't let that happen.
I don't think it was necessarily a stomp.
Okay.
I think the early game went really smooth from top side, but we were trying to transition the lead from me into the mid and bot lane, which struggled a bit. Okay. I was moving a lot, but the communication, just the reset timers were really awkward for me. So like every time I tried to move mid with Tristan, I was like, let's just back off. We don't have to contest here. I'm like, all right, that's fine. So it wasn't a stomp in the sense that it was a 20-minute game, because I think we got Baron around 27-ish. It was relatively late, like 3-item mark.
But I think at the same time, if you just look at the goal...
As soon as we got it, we ended the game. Yeah. As soon as we got it, we ended the game, and we didn't give anything up. It wasn't a close game in the sense that they ever got ahead of us,
Yeah.
but I do think they matched us in pressure at some point with the Tom Kench, the Shen, and the Kassadin on the side lanes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, one question, given that you are playing for Fnatic, which of course is a really prestigious organization, and you are a substitute for sOAZ, even though you have this healthy mentality of, okay, I still need to put myself back and learn, essentially, and be happy with that position. Realistically, I mean, every player wants to play at the end of the day, right? And having sOAZ as the guy in front of you makes you kind of think, okay, well, I'm not going to get much that experience. So why did you go with this nonetheless? Because the experience is that so valuable?
The thing is, if I get recognition from sOAZ, it speaks to everybody in the region.
Okay.
So you need to, like, from a business standpoint for me, if I can prove to sOAZ that I'm a good top laner and he vouches for me, naturally a lot of coaches that understand that he's very smart and he's very good will share the same opinion, or at least give me a chance. Because that's the biggest thing about being a solo queue player coming into competitors, is when you get the chance, you need to prove yourself. But getting that chance is extremely difficult if you don't have friends, you don't know people to talk to. You can't be like, yo, you can't just talk to the H2K coach, or you can't just talk to any LCS coach and be like, can you give me a shot in a tryout? It has to come from them. They need to spot you. And getting recognition from sOAZ, getting recognition from players like Reckless, coaches like Youngbuck, this is just going to give you
the vitamin B.
Exactly, it's going to give you the edge over the other players. And even if you're a little worse than, say, a solo queue player that's out there, you have the connections and they don't. And that's like the hardest part about getting into esports, at least in my experience. Because I spent about 2 years where I quit school to commit to playing solo queue. And I just noticed, like, the first almost year I was playing on like amateur teams, like regional teams. And I was going well, you know, and my macro was pretty good. In fact, I think that's what I learned the least from in Fnatic is just straight up how to rotate around the map. Okay. And I think I somewhat displayed mastery of that in this game. I was always present in the right place at the right time, almost. Of course you can improve. I understand that. That's the mentality you need to have. I didn't play perfectly, far from, but I was there when I needed to be. But I never got a chance from a big org. Yeah. And now that I did, and I got to prove it, and I get some, you know, respect points with some very influential people, it pretty much secures my future. So going into taking the offer as a substitute for Fnatic, the most important thing for me to realize is that if I get these points, the odds of me getting a team next year or next split even increase substantially.
Okay. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense for sure. And yeah, we've seen, for example, I remember when last spring split, Lulex and Sendu swapped in for G2 in the first week. And Lulex pretty much, I did an interview with him afterwards as well. And he was like, yeah, well, they allowed me to sub in, but I'm still free agent, guys. Please pick me up, basically. And then afterwards, he's now the, still, I believe, the jungle coach or part of the coaching of Cloud9. Exactly. So that enabled him. I'm not sure. I think Sendu is back with the G2 Vodafone, the Spanish team.
G2 Vodafone,
So, I mean, he's still got his spot, right? Like, he's still...
No, like, he's in a good spot. It's just, it's a matter of... Like, that's the hard part. I got one game, but in this one game, I got set up to show what I can do. Yeah. So, people that understand the game and that are really smart about the game will watch this game and they'll understand that I know how to rotate around the map, right? I think it's really... It would be really weird to say for someone to watch my game and be like, no, of course I can learn. Of course it can be better. And I look forward, actually, to third party to analyze the game and, you know, point out my mistakes because that's what's important. I need to understand that I made mistakes and understand that I can play better. That's how I'll play better.
Yep, pretty much. So is there anything you would like to say to the plenty of Fnatic fans out there?
I might not see too much play anymore. And... I want everybody from the Fnatic team to understand that Paul is very capable. sOAZ is very capable as a top laner, and he's the best top laner in the Western region in general. I think even in NA, maybe a Korean top laner is even with him. But I do think he's the best Western top laner in the world. And whatever happens, keep rooting for him because he's really good. And the rest of the team. I think everybody on the team is really smart, really strong individually. Everybody's working really hard since I've gotten to the team. And just in general to the fans, thank you so much for supporting me, supporting the team, supporting all the guys, even the background staff, Dylan, Joey, of course my family, because I did say I spent 2 years. I got support. My mother supported me for 2 years going for this, and that means a lot to me.
That's very impressive to
Yeah,
see.
she was fully behind my decision, and I lived with her for the entire period, and for pretty much my entire life. She covered me.
Damn. Shout out to his mother as well. Awesome. Well, this was, how do you correctly pronounce
Bwipo
it?
is fine.
Bwipo, okay. This was Bwipo from Fnatic. We'll see you at Copenhagen, at least from the sidelines. And Darius from the Shotcaller. Hope you had a good day. See you then.
Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, this is Darius from the Shotcaller, and I hope you just enjoyed that interview. This is a generic end card, so make sure to click here for another interview, or here for a different interview. And if you want to check out more content, specifically from the NALCS, make sure to visit theshotcaller.net for more interviews and other esports content. Have a good day.